Okay, here's the Harvey Wells transmitter set into an operating position where I can actually use it and see if the AM crowd can hear me on 40 meters tomorrow morning. This has been a little work to get this thing running well, to integrate it with the power supply there, the Tempo Power 1, and experiment with different finals, 6146 versus 807, and of course I stuck with the 807, and it's probably been a few days on and off of work to just get the relay and the power supply working and get the push to talk working. And even this connector was buggered up, and even this microphone connector was buggered up. It's like this thing fought me the whole way to have it work. But anyway, here's the demo. So yeah, this transmit switch now will simply transmit and key the relay inside the power supply, which will put on the high voltage and the lower high voltage. So there's two voltages that get keyed up. And so we supply one voltage to the 807 final, the other to the modulator and the oscillators. And so when you transmit, the relay inside the power supply will supply power to the Harvey Wells. So you'll see the plate current, and you'll see about 30 watts out on 40 meters. So that's about it. And if you want to push to talk, grab the mic and push to talk, just like normal. This is KB3W testing AM. And what's cool is I'm getting some upward modulation now on the meter. Upward, hollow, upward. So that's a good sign, I guess. I'll talk to Jeff, KK6IRZ, about that. But anyway, that's my little demo. How did we arrive here? I can go through the schematic again for the interested parties. But yeah, it's been a little work. Anyway, here's the schematic up on the screen again. And so I'll go through this again, how I rationalized it and finally got it working well. And so first of all, the Harvey Wells in the schematic gives you these three configurations, and these are great for learning and getting things started. I basically stuck with this configuration at 400 volt supply and 6 volts on heaters. So this resistor exists. This one does too. And from then on, I deviate. So why did I deviate? I couldn't get enough power to power the 807 final and the 6L6s and everything else. This thing wants about 275 milliamperes at 425 volts. I just couldn't come up with that, not with the power supply that I had. So then you rationalize, how do you make work what you have on hand? And so I originally bought the HP23 power supply for this thing. That didn't work out. And so then I had the Tempo Power 1 power supply, and that's the one I finally used. Anyway, how does this work? So originally, they just bring in power through pin 1, and that comes up and hits this pin, and then it gets distributed through here. This pin here also has power. That's not documented, but this pin and this pin are connected together. So there's power here. They send some power over here. I'm not sure what this really does, but as far as this weird connection tie point. But anyway, this is obvious. They want to give some screen current here to the 807. This goes to the screen. So it's unregulated screen current, unregulated. And then this resistor, the other one, where did it go? Okay, there's one I have here. It's this one here. That will take this down to about, I think, 325 volts or 350 volts or so. So you get about 350 volts after a drop here, and that powers up all this stuff. And I think it does a screen here too. Okay, that does the screen right there. The screen drops through a 1K resistor, the screen for the 807. So that's how all that works. And so the path I took was, I put in about 300 volts from the lower voltage power supply on the Tempo Power 1 in through this pin here. That exists. I left it alone, but I cut this wire here to the modulation transformer. So this wire on the secondary, I cut it. It's a black wire. I cut it, and now I feed 600 volts directly into that secondary. So 600 volts is going into here, and I simply commandeered another pin here. I forget which one. It was one for the standby switch that I commandeered, either that one or that one. I think pin 3 or something, but I commandeered one of those, and I'm sending up 600 volts. So then 600 volts goes in through here, and then comes out here and ends up down here. And they had a strap here on their diagram, but I take that strap off. So this strap no longer exists. So we have this secondary taking 600 volts. It dumps it out here. Then I jump it down to the secondary here, the second secondary, which is this one. I jump that voltage down to here. And then we go through that one to come out here. And then I have a jumper going here. And that jumps the two secondaries in series for plate modulation to the plate. And so here's the plate. This wire is gone. The plate simply goes up to the plate of the 807, and that's your plate modulation. So that's how I got this thing to work decently, and I'm even getting some upward modulation when I speak. The current goes up, which I think is good, upward current, and about 35 watts on 40 meters. On 80 meters, I'm getting about 70 watts out. I'm not getting any modulation because the modulators can't drive that, but I'm getting some modulation, but it's low. But anyway, I'm getting like 70 watts out on 80 meters, which is crazy. So I'm not sure how I would dial that back, but the current on the tube goes down on 80 meters, so it's even working better. 20 meters is kind of a disaster. The tube's current is really high. This thing doesn't have any bias, so it doesn't really have the concept of bias. It somehow self-biases when it gets hit with some grid current, and it just works. I'm not sure how that circuit works. I'll have to ask N6QW or someone in the know of how this stuff works. All right, well, I appreciate you watching the video. That's the end of the story with the Harvey Wells TBS 50D dog. So I guess I'll focus now on using the radio and seeing if the AM guys can hear me with it, and see what happens. So it's all set up. I can use this DDS generator to run it. I also bought a VFO for it, a night kit VFO that's old. I haven't even taken it out of the box yet because I've been so busy fixing this thing and doing my work job. So I think since we're moving to Dallas, Texas, I don't know if I'll even bother doing any more ham radio stuff because I gotta pack stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day.